keep running along on this, but I think it's because the case is so complex. I'm talking about, well, trigger warning, this is going to mention sexual assault, but I'll try to keep it vague. 17-year-old Leslie Faber, not her real name because the courts haven't released it. Oh, it's ice. I thought somebody was like being beaten up. She was sexually assaulted by a group of her classmates from Glen Ridge. Pretty sure it's in New York State. She grew up with them, socialized into their environment. She always wanted to be friends with them. When she was 5, they tried to, they did successfully feed her dog feces, and she licked them because she thought they were friends, and that's what you do with friends. Because Leslie has an intellectual disability that keeps her at about an 2nd grade level mentally, so about an 8-year-old, which makes consent even more impossible. So she had went to a park to play basketball, and the boys led her to the basement of one of their homes to hang out and maybe go on a date with her crush, and they sexually assaulted her. There were about 3 or 4 boys involved and more watching, so that the total group of boys that were involved in this event was about 10. They were all jocks at the high school, all close-knit group of boys that have been involved in doing inappropriate stuff together and getting in trouble. Well, not even trouble, because the community did not reprimand them at all for their whole lives. So what I want to argue is that this can be seen through cultural attenuation or cultural disorganization, because the city or town of Glen Ridge is so close-knit. It's like a circle, tight circle of affluent individuals, affluent families that all have been socialized into their own views and values and what they think is right and wrong, how they raise their kids. The boys go outside and play and get dirty, and the girls stay clean, dress nice, and really there's a pattern of sexism between the men of this town. The boys, obviously, carry on this. The textbook refers to what is called the conventional culture, and as I kind of said before, Glen Ridge is not part of the conventional culture like the rest of the United States. Glen Ridge is not part of that. They don't share. They're like separate from that. Like, here's the United States, and here's Glen Ridge, just up here. Don't touch me, fence around me. Control theorists argued that the cause of crime was not exposure to criminal culture, but the variation and extent to which people believe in and are thus tied to the conventional culture. And Glen Ridge was not involved in the conventional culture. They weren't tied to it. They didn't believe in it. They were separate. They had their own views, their own values, and if you weren't part of their group, been there, affluent, had their same views, then you weren't part of their culture, and you weren't invited to the gathering where everybody drinks wine and sells their expensive paintings. And my references to the text are on like pages 44 and 45 in the textbook. There will be references below. My references to the case is a podcast called Rotten Mango. Kornhauser discusses the idea of cultural disorganization to explain community differences in crime rates. So like Glen Ridge versus New York. This being different is because there are different communities. She used neighborhood conditions to kind of discuss the fact that like those communities, neighborhoods, the allegiance in them can, I read that backwards. In her view, neighborhood conditions affect allegiance to conventional value. Being in that neighborhood, the allegiance to conventional values is affected. And this group did not have those allegiance to conventional values. I'm going to have to upload this via YouTube and send a link because I'm getting too long again because I can't stop talking. And I'm tired of re-recording. So bear with me, I'm so sorry. We're at 5:02. The boys in this case exhibited previous behavior that was inappropriate, but they were not reprimanded or told that it was wrong. They were allowed to continue on this way, so they kept learning that it was okay, and they did not change their ways, their behaviors, and it just escalated into further delinquent behavior because that's what the community allowed. Even when this case went to court, the community and the families rallied behind the boys and kind of advocated that they were the victims. They needed to be protected, and they didn't deserve this. They didn't deserve to have to go to jail for it. They didn't deserve to have to go to jail for that girl. Essentially, Glen Ridge is high in cultural values and conventional values with, like, the rest of the United States, pretty low in that. And mobility between the two is almost non-existent, because if you were to move into Glen Ridge, you wouldn't be accepted into that inner circle where the values are shared. If you moved out, don't come back. So now I think I'm finally tightened up. I guess you're getting what I'm trying to say. Control theorists kind of come in, but it's mostly like cultural disorganization, cultural attenuation theories. So thanks for coming to my TED Talk.